So now we're going to take a look at sitting posture, because we can sit using our postural muscles, or we could sit hanging on our ligaments or just taking up the support of the chair. So if you sit actively recruiting your postural muscles, you're going to be getting strengthening just by sitting. So win-win, particularly if you sit a lot with work at a desk. If you start bringing in the principles of active sitting, you're going to be strengthening your core without even realizing it. So let's have a look at sitting posture. So the first thing to note is whatever chair that you're sat on, if your hip is higher than your knee or is in line with your knee, then you'll be able to have a neutral spine, a neutral pelvis position. If, however, you're sat on a chair that is too low for you and your knee is coming up higher than your hip, so as soon as I do that, my pelvis has to roll. So if you're quite tall or the chairs are quite low and your knees are higher than your hip, your pelvis will be kind of tilted posteriorly. And just like we mentioned in the standing posture, if your pelvis isn't in the right position, then that has an impact on everything else. So we want to have that neutral pelvis position to be able to achieve neutral spine all the way. So ideally, you want to have a chair where, like I said, your knees can be either lower or in line with your hip. You want your feet on the floor, so you need your feet to be grounded. If you are fairly short, then maybe you'll have to have a footstool to help that as well. So you can just use a footstool to put your feet on so that you're grounded and in contact with the floor. And then with your pelvis, if you have a think about that posterior and anterior tilt, what we did in standing, so you can maybe position your hands onto your pelvis and roll forwards and backwards. And so we want a neutral pelvis where the pelvis isn't tilted forwards and it's not tilted backwards either. So how to know if it's in the right position? If you put your hands underneath your bottom, you will feel your bony bits. So you'll feel your sit bones and the lower part of your pelvis. And as you roll forwards and back, they sort of disappear. So as you roll back, they disappear forwards. And as you come forwards, they disappear backwards. So you want to be where those bony bits, your sit bones, are actually pointing downwards towards the floor and you can really feel them. So then you know you're in a neutral spine position. This will create that natural curvature of your lower back. And then again, as we mentioned when standing, you don't want to have your chest elevated where your chest is raised. So the chest is in a neutral position. So think about having your rib cage nipped in here to keep your chest relaxed. And then the shoulder blades, we're just balancing that orange. We're not squeezing the orange between the shoulder blades. We're just balancing that orange so that we've got that nice open chest position rather than rounded. Head, again, is on top of the spine, thinking about that helium balloon on top of your head, lifting you upwards so you get nice length at the back of the neck and your head is in line with your spine. Your head isn't forward of your spine and your chin is come forward. So if you feel like your chin is coming forward, then just tuck your chin in. So a retraction exercise where you tuck your chin in and feel the length at the back of the neck. So this is how to sit in a neutral position. And when you're in this position, you will be engaging and recruiting your core muscles to hold yourself there. And if you're maybe sat at work, or maybe you're at home and you're doing some paperwork, or maybe preparing some food whilst you're sitting down, think about your base of support as a tripod. So think about your left foot, your right foot, and your pelvis or your bottom. That is your base of support. So as you're moving and you're reaching for things, you should be using those bases of support to support you. So if you push through your foot like you're squashing your grapes, just like we did in the standing video, if you push down through that foot, you'll feel your leg muscles engage. So rather than being passive, where your feet are, maybe you're cross-legged, or you're having your feet underneath you, or you're on your toes, actually have your whole of your foot grounded and push down through the whole of the foot so that the legs become engaged. So when you reach for something, the leg and the core is involved in that movement. You're not passive and relaxed through your legs and coming down like slouching through your pelvis and just reaching with your upper body. So if this is the kind of thing that you might do, you're reaching for a file or for your coffee, that's all strain and stress on your upper body. So on your shoulders, your neck, and you may be experiencing a lot of tension around there. So instead, recruit the core and allow the muscles around your trunk and your legs to be part of that movement. So as you go towards the right, you push down more through your right leg to stabilize you. And as you go to the left, you push more through the left. So any movement that you do, just use your legs, your leg muscles and your core in that movement. And you'll actually get strengthening by just, by sitting, which is incredible. So I hope you find this useful. And I'll be sharing a lot more tips with you in my next videos.